Hi everybody, welcome to Perth, best city in Australia and New Zealand apparently. So I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about the St. John WA app, and I thought that was a fitting little line, that it is really just about empowering a community to look after itself anywhere in the state. So a question we get asked pretty frequently is, why did we go rogue and not kind of use an established platform? Because the established platforms are really good and tested and proven and have got phenomenal support. And I suppose that several reasons really is that we really wanted flexibility in design and content, and we realized that we wanted our app to be a lot more than just a cardiac arrest responder tool, and that we could do a lot more with it, which I'll tell you about. It is easy really for us to add the user profiles. And so in about early 2017, we tested it and trialed it. In mid-2017, it went live. So we know that this app can do multiple applications, and it's a single point of access for a lot of information by the community, because they phone 000 for a multitude of reasons, and not only cardiac arrest. So we knew that it was a tool that we could really use to build knowledge and enhance first aid skills prior to the arrival of an ambulance, which is quite important in a state as big as Western Australia and as big as your states are, that you do get a lot of remote communities that when something happens, it usually happens really well, and you get the email the next day going, why don't we have a paramedic in that place? So this is a really good adjunct. So I'll just talk you through a little bit about what it can do. Is we've had a two-level users. So this is my front page, advanced defib. There's only a few of us where we'll get a notification for about a 1.5 or 3 Ks, I forget what it is, wide activation, and ProQA determinants are a lot wider for us, and there's about 15 of us that all work within St. John will get that. But generally, it's going to be a single user who gets 500 meters. We have a first responder little button, which if you push into it, it'll give you a whole array of things, one of which is a heat map, which is up here. So if you're really interested to see where the workload's going on in Perth, then this is kind of just showing you where we're currently got jobs on the go, if you like, of a multitude of things. Over there, the dial 000, which is the 000 GPS. Quite often people are not really sure of exactly where they are, so if they use the app to ring us, it should automatically send us the GPS coordinates of where you are. Really good for remote regions. I'm not exactly sure how many calls we've had through that, and maybe I should have asked Austin, who's the knowledge base for us, but a really, really handy feature. The First Aid Toolbox, arguably one of the best features of this app, and one of the things it does is it just gives you a whole lot of things that you can work on, asthma, burns, etc., because we never quite know what to do, even as professionals sometimes, so we just professionally wing it, but imagine Joe Schmo public. It'll tell you where nearby AEDs are, and of course, look at the bottom there, your courses. So it can actually link into any first aid courses that we've done at St. John's, and your profile will link with your first aid courses. And that helps with registering, of course. So who can use it? Well, actually, that was one of the reasons we wanted our own app. Is because traditionally it's either an app that everybody can access unfettered, or it's a professional-only app. And we really wanted to bridge that gap a little bit. So everyone can download it, but and use the first aid information, because we realize that it's a community tool. But you are able to register as a user in order to receive notifications of incidents. And in order to register, we need to verify that you've done a first aid course to a satisfactory level. And that's where the smartphone app camera can come in, so that our people can verify who you are and what kind of things you have. And we train a lot of people in first aid, as do other organizations, not only in the state, but across the the country that these things are pretty easy for us to verify. And as soon as we verify them, they're registered and they can get an app. So how it works really, of course, like all of them, it's all down to ProQA and CAD determinants and what our dispatch system can tell us. And as you can see on the right there, this is just an incident in red there in central Perth. Of course, it's going to be right in the heart of where there's 3 million people, right? And what it does is it pings out, and it'll send a 5-kilometer radius ping and say who's within this footprint. And your phone does that automatically, right? And this is where it was picking up where app users were at that particular time. And this was just a random test incident that was put in, right? And it'll get feedback from that in the back end. And then within 500 meters, it'll then send a notification with a very vague address. And if you choose to accept it, because really it's just a notification, not an order to go, if you choose to accept it, it then gives you precise information. So that's really important. Those who accept a job get the location. And currently it's just for public places only. And that's something that I think that we, as we work on it, goes. So this is the screen that people get when they go onto the App Store or to the Google Play, I think it is. I'm not an Android user, but you know, it works across all platforms apparently. So it can tell the downloader what it kind of looks like, and of course that's something that they can always go back to when you do. So our design people really try to make it as inviting as possible. So arguably the most critical feature of the app, of course, is cardiac arrest, which is why we're here today. And you can see where AEDs are. And this is just a general view of centre of Perth and north of the river. I live in the north, so it's the most important part of Perth. And even though it's a poor screenshot, it's just really telling me that there's like 200 plus there, and they're really clustered. But if you really zoom in, Kewdale's an industrial area just by the airport, and it'll tell you exactly where AEDs are. And as soon as you press on one, it'll tell you where it is. And crucially, at the bottom of the page, it'll say get directions, and it'll take you to that AED. So, 5 minutes, right. So it'll tell you where we're going. So we've tried to make it as interactive as possible from that point of view. One of the other things we did in the first aid toolbox is add a CPR metronome in. Some people said, well, why do you need a CPR metronome? Getting a phone out of cardiac arrest might not be the best thing, or we might be on it. But we realized that a lot of people that volunteer for us and work for us have been drilled about good quality CPR in the last couple of years. So we've just given them a tool that when you arrive on scene as a responder, essentially we've got something at least to help you do that. And of course, there are some check sheets of what to do just for the lay person. So to wrap up, there's just a few numbers here. Clearly, I'm not very motivated by extra design, so this is what we got. To date, we've got 149,000 downloads of our app across WA. And just in July 2019, there's 12,000. Everybody who does a first aid course with us is encouraged to download it. Out of that, we've got 18,155 people who have registered as first responders, and 850 of those are just within the last month. And if we look at the incidents that we've been to, the number of incidents that have been activated is there, 1,000 of which were in July. And this is where it gets a little bit tricky, because you think, wow, we've got all of these downloads here, and we've got a lot of people on the app, but we've had 55 accept just in July from 1,000 jobs. So percentage-wise, that doesn't look too flash. 134 declined, and all the rest were unanswered or ignored. So we've got maybe a little bit of work to do on our messaging, but this is a slow burning fuse, if you like, and we need to make it as available to everybody, more for its first aid content, but when it's really needed for cardiac arrest. How many survivors can we attribute to the app in WA? Well, I asked my colleagues about it this morning again, and we're stuck at one. We know about one verified survivor. We think there might be a couple more, but it's really hard to verify. So it's really good for the community. It's more than just a cardiac arrest responder app, but we realize that that's where the important stuff lays in for the community. So short and sweet, thanks for listening.